Greetings my friends, welcome to the channel. Today's video is about this. This is a Rotary 1895 heritage chronograph. It's a reissue, if you will, but not really, because it's based on a watch that Rotary used to make way back in the 60s. Part of their Aquaplunge line, there was one that didn't have a chronograph function, and then there's this one that did. There are some big differences. If you want to get an Aquaplunge today, a 1960s original in lovely condition, it's about £1,000. If you want a watch which looks identical, but has modern features, this is the watch for you because it's less than £300. Even on a bracelet, it's $299. So we're looking in the affordable bracket here. So is this just a fad? Is this just another one of those heritage reissues that shouldn't be thought of really? I would beg to differ because I think this is an absolute stunner. But why? That's what we're going to talk about now. Hope you enjoyed my video. Let's get on with it. Before I get straight into talking about the stats and specs and all that stuff about the watch, you can skip ahead to that if you wish, but I really want you to just stick with me for a few more minutes because Rotary have been around since 1895. They have a lot of history, and I'm going to blast through just a summary of what you're buying into effectively. Here's Dan with the history lesson. A British icon. Today, Rotary is located in London's home of watchmaking, and that's Clerkenwell. I didn't know that was the home of watchmaking. Apparently it is. It's the heart of London's watchmaking, even though they don't make these watches there, where we design all of our watches in-house. That basically means there are people in the building in London designing watches in our state-of-the-art design studio. I would love to see this state-of-the-art. And what would make it state-of-the-art? Have they got levitating laptops? Have they got AI design technology? I don't know. I would like to know what state-of-the-art actually means. But that's what Rotary have, apparently, according to their website. And the motto is British design, London style. Really? Fantastic. Well, so that's the marketing bullshit out of the way. Let's talk about a bit of their history, because it's obviously steeped in that. Rotary have been around since 1895. A man called Mr. Dreyfus begins making timepieces in a tiny little workshop in the Swiss town of Champ-de-Fonds. Forgive my pronunciation, but it's somewhere in Switzerland. Then he decides in 1905 to come to Britain, of all places, where George and Sylvan Dreyfus, two of Dreyfus's 3 sons, open a UK office to import watches. In the 40s, they were the official provider of watches to the British Army. I like that. 77, they were official race sponsors. So BRM, a British Formula 1 racing team. Racing, war, what's next? The Ocean, 2011. They are the official sponsors of Clipper, a round the world yacht race. Fantastic. And in honour of my beloved wife, who is a fan of this club, Chelsea Football Club. I don't care about Chelsea or football, but they are in partnership with Chelsea FC as the official global timekeeper. Along comes 2014. Sadly, there is new ownership. Someone's cashed in, and City Champ Watch and Jewellery Group, the well-known City Champ Watch and Jewellery Group, they acquire not just a few percent, but 100% share of the Dreyfus Group and become the parent company. Well, no shit, Sherlock. If they bought 100%, who else is the mummy or daddy? Moving on a few more years, 2018, they become partners with the Royal British Legion. Lovely. Very much a good thing to be supporting. And then we jump forward to 2020 and there's watchmaking pedigree, and they celebrate 125 years of watchmaking. 2021, Rotary watches partners with prostate cancer, and I will support that as a good cause because no one wants to get that, do they? And now we're here in 2024 and there's another partnership. They're very good at their partnerships. There's a lot of partnering up going on here. There's a keys in the bowl situation. Anyway, Rotary joins the Alliance of British Watch and Clockmakers. I'm sorry, but they don't make the watches. They're made in China. They're designed in the UK. They're not made here. Anyway, before I get too angry, how good is the watch? So here it is, the Rotary, the 1895 1895 Heritage Chrono. Available in either black, with or without a bracelet. This is obviously with the leather strap. And you can get it with the blue dial as well. And the one with the bracelet is a bit more money. £299. This in pounds is £269. 500 of each. And this one is, what have I got? My number is 008 or nearly 007. Not that that's relevant to a Rotary, but anyway, nice to have 500. Nice to know it's limited. Nice to know I'm special. So when I wear this, I'm a special guy wearing a special watch. And what I'm going to do now is place this down here and have popping up here on the left the things I've verified by measuring and weighing this lovely watch, the stats and the specs. So let's start with the weight. 73 grams. What does that mean? Well, it's about half the weight of a sports watch with an automatic movement and a bracelet. So it's very light. Anything under 100 grams is going to feel featherweight on your wrist. Not that you're going to wear a feather on your wrist, but who cares anyway. And it's made of 316L stainless steel, as is most watches, so it's not really anything to celebrate. Case depth is 12.4. If you include the crystal, which is made of mineral with AR coating, is 13.6. It wears like a 12.5mm watch on the wrist. The crystal doesn't really count. Case from here to here, excluding the pushers, is 38mm. Length, which is from the tip of this metal bit here to here to here, is 48. Lug width, which is from that bit there to there, how wide your straps are, effectively where it goes into the watch, and that is 20mm. Water resistance is 100mm. This enormous crown here, which is signed, is 6.8mm, which is quite big because a lot of crowns are only about 4 to 5mm, so it's a nice big size, which is good for grabbing hold of and doing your things with. Movement inside here is a Seiko. It's a mecha quartz, which is basically a quartz movement, has the feel and sort of tactility, if you can call that a word, which it is actually, it's a good word to use now, of a mechanical movement. I'll show you what that actually means in a minute. And last but not least, this bezel rotates. I'll show it to you in a minute. And it has 90 clicks, a lovely weird amount of clicks. Now we got the stats and specs out of the way, I want to just very quickly tell you about the original Aquaplunge that this is paying homage to, which, like I said earlier, is about £1,000 if you were to find one at a vintage dealer, someone who's going to fleece you for £1,000. In a nutshell, what I found from the internet, the Aquaplunge is arguably one of the most recognisable watches that Rotary ever made. Rotary produced various iterations of the Aquaplunge, but the chronograph diver is certainly one of the most collectible. Watches were produced to very high standards for use by professionals, and it had a 37mm case. This has 38, so it's slightly wrong. We've still got the matte black reverse panda dial, twin subsidiary dials in white, but then here we've got silver. And the original had wedge-shaped plots for lume, which this does, and it has a bi-directional bezel, whereas this is unidirectional, goes one way. But the original, the cool thing about it was it had a Landeron Swiss movement. Landeron were makers of Swiss watch movements in the region of Le Landeron, famous for chronograph movements. And it was a mechanical movement. I think it was the Landeron 154 was the actual thing. It had 17 joules, power reserve 41 hours. And it was a manual winder. This is a quartz. Modern spec with old-fashioned design. That's what we're dealing with. Immediately, when you get out of the packaging, you're going to look and see how well made this watch is and fiddle and press with everything and twiddle the buttons and press the knobs, all that stuff. All that stuff is great. The bezel action is nice. It feels great. There's no sloppy bits. We don't like a sloppy bezel. This has a lovely clicky, snickety feel. It sounds ever so slightly tinny. Very acceptable for this kind of price point and from a major high street retailer. The pushers for this mecha quartz, lovely feel. But that's always down to the fact that it's a mecha quartz and the feel's always the same, and there's no difference here. And look here, when you see the timing hand here for the mecha quartz, very smooth, 4 ticks a second. And when you look here, this subdial here, which is the annoying thing about mecha quartz movements, which I wish they maybe tried something else, was look here, it's got a 24-hour subdial. This is just doing nothing for your timing. The only timing you've got is this is going around here and it counts up to 1 hour with this left panda subdial here. That's fine, but it's just a bit annoying that this dial here does absolutely bugger all other than tell you it's that part of the day. You know, it's the afternoon. And if you don't know what time of the day it is, I'm very worried about you. So press stop, lovely little pop when you press stop. This bottom pusher here when you press it, as you can see here, watch this. This is my favorite thing about these mecha quartz movements is super quick, snaps back beautifully to 12 o'clock, depending on the camera angle, but when I look at this dead on, the alignment of the hand is absolutely perfect. We have a lume pip at the 12 o'clock, polished stainless steel bezel with the red minute markers around here as per the original, black text in there, which is really lovely, contrasting and also matching with the black dial, which is matte black. Lume in here is average, it's at best. I'm going to show you quick, turn the lights out. Looks okay in this light here, but it's not going to last very long. Immediate impact is good, but it's not going to blow your socks off. So socks off firmly on. We've got a relatively chunky case and we've got 100 meters water resist, which is good. And the only thing I don't like about polished case backs is they smudge and scratch very easily, but I like the 125 detailing on here, celebrating over 125 years of watchmaking. It's a push-pull crown, but you still have 100 meters water resist. If it had a screw-down crown, it would probably have 200 meters water resist. But considering this is a chronograph, I doubt you'd be wanting to be doing pushers and things like that underwater anyway. Then after I've done all the tactile things like the bezel and pushers and all that jazz, I like to look at all the other things like the fit and the finish. The fit and finish on this watch is very lovely. Polished sides, brush top, no fluff or muck under the dial, everything lines up, the hands are great. So I put it to on the hour. As you can see, the hour hand is perfectly on the hour, and the minute hand lines up very nicely. Sometimes you can have things slightly awry. Rotary, very good quality control, never had a bad one, very consistent. Mineral crystal, this is what I'm going to do a criticism. You've got 3 tiers in my opinion. Entry level 1 is acrylic, then mid tier is mineral. You could say mid-tier plus a bit is mineral coated with some sapphire, but I'll forget about that one. Then the next layer is sapphire. Sapphire they haven't done, annoyingly. It's a nearly £300 watch. They could have done it. I think for authenticity, I wish they'd done acrylic because it has that warm, vintagey feel. But yes, it's dated. But they still have watches today with acrylic crystal. You can still buy an Omega Speedmaster with acrylic for authenticity. You can buy dive watches, heritage reissues with acrylic. There's so many watches you can get with domed acrylic crystal and has a gorgeous feel and look to it. I wish Rotary did that. Visually, this is incredibly close to the original with a modern specification. Arguably not quite as modern as it could have been. They could have had sapphire and they could have had another modern manual wind movement. This is my next criticism. Why didn't they use the seagull movement? A manual wind chronograph movement. Then the price could have been a bit more because the seagull movement is not very expensive. They put in a lot of affordable AliExpress watches. Sorry about this hole in my glove. Moving on to the strap. Looks lovely. The colour really complements it. Weird to put a leather strap on a watch which is meant to be a waterborne sports watch. Bracelet is cool for that, but I would have preferred a tropic style rubber. That would have been much better because then you can get it wet. Because this watch, you can get wet. Genuine leather. Only thing that's a bit squiffy is already very quickly the edges start to deteriorate. I very much enjoyed wearing this. I've worn it to Scotland. I took it on holiday with me and I just think it is so extraordinarily comfortable. Wears beautifully. It's comfortable because it's lightweight and it's comfortable because the ergonomics of the watch are just really good. It doesn't sit too proudly off the wrist. It conforms nicely. It's not too long. There's no snaggy bits. It doesn't catch on my sleeve of my shirt if I'm wearing one. It's really nice. It's just a wearable, comfortable watch. It's got that heritage vintage look to it with the modern spec, which, like I've said, could be better, but it's still very handsome. Limited edition, so if you really want to get something which is a bit collectible and you know it's going to run out one day and you can't get it again, and you don't have to spend £1,000 on a vintage one, get yourself a modern one that's really reliable. Stick a battery in it every 3 to 5 years. And off you go and enjoy it. Before I finish, I just think, is this an annoying fad where people just re-release watches they used to make? Yes, it's annoying, but it's also great because not everyone wants to buy a vintage watch that could be unreliable and cost hundreds to service and is difficult to find and spend £1,000. Get something which literally looks the same from exactly the same company, well, on the dial at least, and spend a few £100s. This is a lovely compromise from a really great British brand, which I'm very grateful to work with. So thank you to Rotary for sending me this lovely watch, and I don't have to send it back, so that means this is partly a sponsored review, but they have literally not told me what to say. But the point is, I'm saying this has been an honest review. I've had a laugh making it. Make sure you subscribe, and guess what? It's free. What have you got to lose? Other than, obviously, if you don't like me, you don't want to see me again, ta-ta.